Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Life, Love, and Existential Dread podcast. My name is Bryan. I'm a film composer in Los Angeles, California, and we're so glad to have our co-host back with us, Nathan Shelton, actor, writer, director, producer, and Marty McFly impersonator. How you doing, Nathan?
Good. I'm Marty McFly stung by bees.
Stung by bees. All right.
yeah. Puffed up Marty McFly.
So glad to have you back. You were in Mexico for
Mexico
again for a little while. Now you're back. We had a co-host on filling in for you. My friend Curtis Bedford was on, did a great job.
Yeah, good guy.
But he's not you. That's what I'm saying. He's not you. So glad to have you back on.
Yeah, he's not as puffy as me. So I bring the puff to the show. I bring the puff. Stay puffed.
Stay
Shelton. Yeah.
Stay. Well, another exciting episode. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. One thing I want to talk about you, which I briefly talked about with Curtis, is working on a film set and working with other actors. I don't have any experience with this, namely because I'm a film composer. So I want to ask you about. Yeah, I'm in the studio. I work at my computer primarily, so I don't meet all these people. But I've been doing some of that lately. Been out here, been in the audience for several game shows, and I've been an extra on two major films. All right. And it was total fluke. I was on castingnetworks.com, and all I did was put up a picture of myself. I got a hat on. I even got a hat on. My glasses aren't on. And that picture has got me a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to ask,
Dead? Your natural looking zombie?
No.
Look at that guy. He looks fucking dead.
He looks ugly, dead. Hey, look at his skin. He's gray skin. He's dead. Let's put him on Walking Dead. Yes. No, not Walking Dead. One movie, it's a remake of the White Men Can't Jump movie from 92.
They remade that?
Why are they doing it? I don't know. Why are they doing it? You look on the actors list. Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes are not on the actors. Maybe there'll be a cameo on there, but they're not a part of it.
Give it a year and it'll be on Broadway as a major musical.
Exactly. I love that movie. I thought it was so funny, and they're both actually. And they're actually both really good basketball players. Like, that's why they got to do it. And I found out, actually, that Wesley Snipes couldn't play basketball, but he learned how to do it, once he got the role. He kind of lied about it. But actually, Woody Harrelson, he was always playing pickup games. He was actually very good, even before the movie starts. Okay, doesn't matter. The remake, there's one actor I recognize. I don't know if you know this actor. His name is Lance Riddick. Taller guy, bald guy. And he's been in a ton of stuff. I recognized him from The Wire. He had a major role on that one.
Who was he in The Wire?
I forget his character, but I remember watching that show and seeing him on there. And then he was there, and I'm standing right behind him in this movie. All right. So the scene I'm an extra in, I'm a college scout, and a younger version of the Wesley Snipes character is in high school, and he's playing basketball on a high school basketball team. Mm-hmm. And I'm a college scout along with 5 or 6 other college scouts trying to find the next person to come to their school. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And then his dad is this guy, Lance Riddick. All right. And so I'm standing behind him on the sidelines in this gymnasium watching him play basketball. And let me tell you, the kid they got to play, the younger version of Wesley Snipes, he's going to be the NBA. This kid was unbelievable. You see him warming up. He's got this guy teaching him choreography, basketball choreography, where to pass, when to shoot, and everything. He's sinking threes from way downtown, sinking threes, alley-oops, slam dunks. His head's above the rim. I couldn't believe this kid. Anyway, unbelievable. On and off the camera. Off the camera, on the camera. He's getting all this stuff done. So anyway, I'm standing behind the actor playing his father, and we're supposed to be like, taking notes on the next big thing. We're trying to recruit him and all that stuff. We were there for 10 hours. I couldn't believe it. I was standing in this one spot for 10 hours.
The old adage is hurry up and wait. That's what they say.
Being this, and I realize that's the gig and the extras and everything. But I want to ask you about these situations. I don't know if you've ever been an extra on a movie or anything like that, one of these lesser roles. But we're going into this holding area and checking in everything. I couldn't believe the level of unorganization. It was crazy. Now, they had taken over a high school campus, this whole movie. So trailers, sound equipment, camera equipment is everywhere. You know, 6, 7 dressing trailers alone. The equipment for the show. I mean, everything is everywhere. It was like a big budget movie. This is a Disney movie.
Oh, okay.
And so we're going in there.
Disney bought that property, huh?
Yep.
Remake. Interesting. Yeah.
Remake. Yeah. I really think it's a money grab. You know, people see that title and it's a money grab anyway. But out of it, more than anything, it's more out of curiosity. I was like, what is this thing? What am I doing here? Let's just figure it out. So you get in there, and one thing that was really good is they have you check in to a parking structure, and then they shuttle you to the movie set, which is unbelievable because, I don't know, anyone been to LA, parking is outrageous and unbelievable. So you can have your car parked in a parking structure. You don't have to worry about it and anything. And then they shuttle you to the movie set. I was like, oh, that's great right there. And once we get there, we check into this thing and they said, oh, I don't have your name on here. Oh, these are scans of the list and everything. So your name may not be on here or whatever. Let's write it down and figure it out. I was like, oh, man, already lots of trouble. Yeah. Trying even to check into this thing. And then I go over to wardrobe and they said, dress like these pictures. Try to look like a college scout. So I had this polo shirt on, black polo, long khaki pants, and white tennis shoes. I was like, well, I think that looks pretty much like what a college scout was. I was like, well, we like all that. We'll give you a different shirt. And so I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I just wore a different shirt. And checking into that, oh, you got to give it. And the way you get paid on this thing is you hand this voucher to certain people, and then you get it back at the end and sign out when you left. And so, oh, we got to check this in. Oh, we don't have your name either. What is your name? And it's just the level of unorganization in the wardrobe department alone was outrageous. I couldn't believe it. So we're standing there. There's like 5 or 6 of us, and people are getting different clothes on and everything. And finally, there's 3 women that come over and they go, oh, I like this. I like that, you know, and they're approving the wardrobe and they take a picture. And finally, we go over to this holding area. And so that was, I couldn't believe how long it took just for that. You know, it's like 5 or 6 of us. Give us the shirts, give us the pants, change us into whatever you want us to do, and then get us out of here. But it was so unorganized. It was so crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it too, though, the way that works with extras is that there's like a whole wrangling area of the movie that has to deal with that. And on any given day, you have potentially hundreds of extras, including like extreme background, like background walkers and stuff going through, and featured extras. And excuse me. So with that, it has nothing to do with the like primary principal people. You know, usually it's not even. In television, it's a little different, you know, but like sometimes it's not even the director that's dealing with that. It's like another assistant director, you know, doing 2nd unit, 3rd unit, 4th unit kind of stuff. So it does feel like it, you know, because they only can plan so much. Plus with those extras, sometimes half of them show up, you know, it's like, you don't know, because a lot of extras aren't professional. There are professional extras that do it all the time, but then there's people that answer ads on Facebook. So, you know, you never know. You just never know. So that's why they can't plan too much, because if they do, they're going to get screwed because only half the people are going to show. So they kind of have to play it by ear.
And I'm very aware of that. And that was one thing I was noticing about the game shows. They always overbook just to be sure. They want all the seats filled. And so if other people... And you don't get, you still get paid, but like you have to sit out. You're not actually in the game show. You're not actually in the audience. You're just sitting out like in a holding area. Okay. And same thing for this thing. There were 300 extras in this for White Men Can't Jump, because it's an audience sitting in the stands of a high school basketball game. Okay. So there's 300, tremendous amount of people to deal with. So, but just getting in there, checking in, the wardrobe fiasco was, I couldn't believe the level of unorganization. It was so nuts. What do we do with them? What do we do with him? We got to take him over here. Did you sign him in? Did you get his value? I mean, it's just like, oh man, I
Yeah.
could solve. You had one person with a head on their shoulders. They could have, cut out like an hour and a half of all that crap. Anyway, we
Yeah,
get to the
it's crazy.
Anyway, we get to the holding area, which is another high school gymnasium on the same high school campus. And I was like, I know what that is. You just sit there and wait, and then they're calling people in. There's girls that are cheerleaders. There's people that are referees for the game. And then we were, me and these 5-6 other guys were the college scouts. Everybody else was crowd for the game. And they say, okay, even if he doesn't make a basketball shot, even if he misses, you got to cheer and scream like crazy. But he's making a lot of them. And the crowd was excellent. I will say that. The crowd was reacting appropriately and doing all this stuff. And I was kind of like reacting a little bit like a crowd member. And then the director comes up to the 5 or 6 of us. He's like, you guys just calm down and pretend like you're talking about him, trying to recruit him for your college. You can't react like the rest of the crowd. I was like, okay, I have no acting experience. What the hell am I doing? Right. So, but the director came over and directly told us, and I wasn't the only one doing it. It was a couple of the other guys were doing the same thing, cheering and for him. I was like, no, you're a college scout. You don't cheer for the guy. You're trying to recruit the guy. But the crowd was excellent. And so we're standing behind the dad of this kid who's trying to be recruited. And so I know the cameras are on us. And so do all the other extras. All right. And so he's making these shots. He's doing all this stuff. And this guy is like bumping into me and trying to knock me out of the shot because he's trying to get on camera. I swear to God.
An extra was?
An extra was, and the director is, or it might have been an assistant director, I don't know, but he's like placing us in this crowd. It's like, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here, but you college scouts stand behind the dad, and like you're talking to him and trying to talk him into letting his kid come to their school. But this other extra kept slamming into me, like cheering when he'd make a slam dunk. And so one time I was like, all right. And I just like stood my ground and like had a really tight, stronger stance. And then he bumped into me. I didn't move, and he got the message. Don't bump into me. I know you're trying to get on camera. The director placed me here. Don't try that. He didn't try that again. But, he's like half my age and in really good shape and everything. So I really didn't want to mess with the guy.
Get your ass kicked just for fighting over being on camera for 2
trying
seconds.
to get on the camera because you could see the camera. You could see the cameras.
Sure.
There's 2 of them. One was diagonal, one was straight on me because it's the dad and he's like.
And then when the movie comes out, they'll cut that whole scene.
Of course they will. Of course they will. Yeah, you don't know what's on it.
You never know. At least it's a paycheck. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it was 10 hours. 10 hours.
So you got like
standing
SAG day rate, right?
Well, I'm non-union.
It doesn't matter though, but it's a SAG project. But you would still get a typical day rate, right? Like for an extra player.
What they usually say is $120 for 8 hours. But
yeah, here for TV it's like 80 if I remember right, or 85. But that was like years. That was like 2015.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, that's what it was for Chicago PD. The one time I ever did extra work, and I was trying to meet people in the film industry, which doing extra work is not really a great way to do that because you're in there with a bunch of non-actors. But I was new to the city and I went in to do extra work I answered a call for Chicago PD. And I was, it was winter in Chicago. So it was crazy. And that winter was pretty bleak. And we were shooting a scene. They told us it was going to be in a coffee shop. So I was like, okay, well, I've got my horn-rimmed glasses, and I'm like, I can be hipstery. So I'm going to dress a little hipstery. It's going to be in a coffee shop. And I didn't know what was going on. So I show up, we go up to the studio and they have us there and they're looking at wardrobe and everything and what we wear. They like it and everything looks good. And then they tell us when we get there, oh, they changed the location and now we're going to be in a dive, like a kind of a sleazy rundown, Greasy Spoon diner. And it's like, that is vastly different than what we were told and what we were told to prepare. Nobody emailed us to tell us that we needed to change. So they were picking the roughest looking people to be featured. And I was like, well, I don't look rough enough because I didn't prepare. And I was really upset about that because I was like, coming out here spending a day, I want to be on camera. Well, we get there, they're doing it's basically the same kind of thing. We're like bust out and everything. Well, they give us lunch when we get there and like meatball subs or something. So we're eating. I just get my sandwich. It's hot. I'm getting ready and it's cold outside. So I'm getting ready to eat. I'm standing by the trash can and one of the PAs comes out and says, we need an extra for a featured. And I was like, oh, I'm good to go. And she was like, well, you just got a sandwich. And I threw it in the trash. I'm like, no, I'm good. So she brings me inside and I'm at the counter. And so my whole thing is that I'm getting the money from the person who's running the counter. And I'm like, hey, thanks. And I walk out right past the lead as she's walking in. And so I was like, this is great. I'm going to be a featured extra. I'm going to be definitely in this. So we rehearse it like 5 or 6 times and everything's good. Mm-hmm. Right before we roll, the director comes in who looks similar to me. We have the same glasses and he's like, okay, yeah, I want to move this, and he points to me and he's like, and we need to switch this guy out for somebody else. He just looks a little too hipstery. And I'm like, no, I can take the glasses off. He's like, no, man, it's okay. I'm a hipster too. It's cool. But we need somebody else in here. So I was like, fuck. And He took me and they put me outside walking past the window. And so you never see me in it. I thought, okay, because I walk past them, but it's so close. You never see me. You don't see my coat. You don't see anything. I was wearing a pretty nice, like, overcoat that I had. And so I completely just, I was so close to being in that and then nothing. So I was really bummed. But my roommate Jimmy is an actor as well, and Jimmy actually had a featured extra role on Chicago Fire on an episode last season when they had a yard sale at the fire department, and he's red bearded man #1 or red beard man or something like that, because Jimmy's got this huge long beard, and so he's at the garage sale and he says sold. That's his line in the episode. So, but I was proud of him. He's still getting residual. He just got a residuals check from that the other day.
Awesome. Love it.
But no, I mean, I've had other larger parts in movies with lines and things like that. But yeah, the only time I've actually truly been like an extra was that one. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Again.
It was purely out of curiosity. You make a few extra bucks. It's not very much.
It's a cool experience. It is.
It's an experience. I just want to learn from it. We were talking about on a previous episode, experience as much as you can. And so I was like, I meet people. You've never done this. I've never done anything like this. And what you're saying, meet some industry people, but you don't meet them. Yes, the director talked directly to me and the other 5 college scouts on this thing. He doesn't care. He's not going to have a conversation. Oh, I'm a composer. I can write music for the, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that did not
If you meet
happen.
him on the street the next week, he won't remember who you are.
And he won't even remember. There's 300 of us there. It was like 5 minutes later, he forgot. Yeah. So we're going through this thing, and they shoot it several times from several different angles, and then they have to flip it around and shoot it from the other angle, like from the other side of the gym on this thing. So again, it was 10 hours of standing there, and that's rough. I had good shoes on and everything, but I couldn't even walk at the end of this thing.
You got a lunch break and everything, right?
Okay, and that's another thing I want to ask you about all this stuff. The higher, the bigger budget, obviously, on these things, the better the food. The food on this thing was unbelievable. They had anything, not anything you wanted, but the food they cooked was unbelievable. Fish, chicken, steak, salad, steamed vegetables, high-end catering. I've been on some of these other things, the game shows. You get a burrito bowl from Pollo Loco, or you get nothing and just little bags of chips and candies and things like this.
If it's a union movie, they have like regulations on that kind of stuff. Like they have what you can and cannot have at craft services. They have what you can, which is like the snacking table. And then they have what you can and cannot have for meals. Like I think that there's rules against like, on a lot of indie projects that we've all worked on in the past and stuff, we'd get pizza for everybody because it's cheap and it feeds a lot of people. Can't do that on a movie set. You can't. You have to cater to different diets too. You have to have vegan options and kosher options and all that stuff.
But the quality of the food on this thing was unbelievable. Some of the best, one of the best meals I've had in weeks was on this movie.
It's better
set.
than macaroni and cheese, eh?
Better than mac and cheese, frozen dinners, way better than any of that
Living
shit.
that bachelor life there in your apartment.
that's all I do. Anything to make food quickly and easily. Somebody else makes it, or I just microwave it. That's all I eat. Yeah.
Right.
So the food quality on this. You know how big a budget this thing is by how expensive the food is. Yeah. So that was nice. Yes, we did get an hour break for lunch on this thing, and the food was very good. But still, I mean, my feet, my legs, my back, my butt, everything was just aching.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of this thing, because I'm not in good shape or anything, so that's part of it too. But so at the end of this thing, you got to line up and get your voucher signed, and that's the only way you get paid. Just make sure you were there the whole time, and they sign you out. And then, you know, if you're not with the company, you have to fill out W-9 and I-9 forms and everything. That's a whole different thing. And then they get all pissed off when you're in the wrong line but then they didn't tell you which line to be in. So that's another whole chaotic thing, unorganization thing. Where this second project I want to tell you about in a few minutes here, all that stuff was done beforehand. But this one, everything had to be done with physical forms and everything. And okay, so you got 300 extras sitting around waiting, you know, an hour and a half to get their forms signed. I mean, how many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars you have to pay all these people to get all this stuff? So anyway, I thought that was extremely unorganized, but you had to wait in a line to get all this stuff taken care of. I was like, I can't stand up anymore. I just had to wait for the line. I'm sitting there for an hour, just like, you know, and a couple of guys I made friends with, the other college scouts. It was like, man, don't you want to get in line, get out of here? I was like, dude, I can't stand up anymore. I can't even freaking walk. So I had to wait there. And
note to self: wear orthopedic shoes next time.
Orthopedic shoes. I had tennis shoes. I had these tennis shoes on. They were good shoes, but man, standing still, you know. And I was a teacher, you know, and you stand up all day for that. I was a bartender for a while too. You stand up all day for that, 8, 9, 10 hours, same amount of time, but you're walking around and moving. This thing, I'm standing in the same spot, not moving. So that's not easy, particularly someone who's not in shape like myself. Anyway, quite an experience for that. But I know I'm on camera. And also, I couldn't believe how many times I had to redo stuff. Reshoot things because either the actors were making mistakes or there was some kind of problem with the cameras or some kind of problem with the sound. The boom operator was having trouble with the boom, like couldn't extend the boom arm. And
it happens all the time. Or you can't control it. You can't control that stuff. Even on big movies, you can't control if a plane flies overhead and you get that, and then it screws up your audio.
See, I want to ask you about that. You know, I was like, you've been on smaller sets and bigger sets and everything. It's the same experience that even these big budget things, which supposedly everybody's like at the top of their game, I'm like, you can't figure out how to extend the boom arm and it takes 20 minutes to figure that out. I'm like, well, what?
It's not, you know? It's not just that. It's not because, so when people are moving, if they're static, it's super easy. But when you're doing like a basketball game, if you extend it, then the beginning of the process, you're missing out because you can't get it back far enough. So when you've got one person on a boom pole, and it's not like they can have that person laved really, like they can't have a lav mic on them because if they're running around, I mean, they might have it for backup purposes, but you know, you've got that going on. You're not going to be able to hear. So you always do multiple ways of that. And so when you've got a boom operator, a lot of time, those boom operators, sometimes they'll enter a shot and because they're trying to get their audio. So that's a hard job. I think that's a very, very hard job. And some people are very good at it, but some people, you know, and even the professionals, it's like, you know, you watch movies and you'll see a boom in the shot and they'll be like, boom shot. There's an old joke. And we always say this on movie sets too. But I think when I was working on with that movie with Bob Picardo, he said that it's been a joke for like 30 years. And I didn't know that. I thought, you know, we had kind of come up with it, but somebody would be like, we got a boom shadow, like across somebody's face. And so I would always sing, I'm being followed by a boom shadow, boom shadow, boom shadow. And like everybody sings it as kind of a joke, right? Yep. But Bob said everybody's been doing that for, you know, years and years since that song came out, because that's a common thing. Hey, we got a boom shadow, got to do it again. Even if the boom mic isn't in the shot, the shadow of the boom will cross a light and it comes across the actor's face and it ruins the illusion of whatever you're trying to do. People
Yep.
don't realize that. It's like any room that you're in a movie, you think, oh, it's, they're just in a room. There's no lights in there. Well, behind that camera is a massive amount of work that the DP has done and the gaffers and everybody to put those lights up, to make the shadows, to make the room look, quote, natural. Because when you just have a camera, it doesn't capture, it looks wonky, it looks flat, or it looks dead. There's no life to it. So that's filmmaking, even more than theater, I think, is the most collaborative art form of any of the performing arts. It is the most, because it encompasses everything, not the performance side, and then like all the the set builders, the set dressers, the properties people, the makeup people, the special effects makeup people, the visual effects people, and then like 6 different kinds of sections of audio and 12 different kinds of sections of lighting and sound. And I mean, it's insane. That's why when you watch a movie, it feels like forever when you see those scrolls going through, and all those people worked, and probably only a quarter of them actually worked on set, and the rest are all post-production or pre-production. But still, it's a lot of people that make those things run. And so you got to think about all the department heads all being at the top of their game and having to work seamlessly with other department heads, and there's egos involved and there's time constraints involved. It's so much stress, and it's not a small thing. And the more money, the more stress there is, and the more people you have checking on people. And when somebody feels like somebody's not doing the job they want it to be done, then you have the overlapping, and it's like a small village. Every movie is like a small village of people, and it's so fun. It is so fun if you love the work, but then you go back to your regular life. But for that brief, whatever, a month or 6 months, however long you're working on the film, you go to work every day, you're seeing the same people, you're living in your little dream world and your dream bubble, and it has its own stresses and its own pressures and its own, like, everything. And then you leave it and you go back to your regular life and you're like, oh, this is what real people are like. This is what real people do, But I can't, for me, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm on a set, it's like I come alive. I love being on a film set. I would, if I could do anything, I would be on a film set all the time. I love making movies. I love the process of it. I love the stress. I mean, I could work and I have worked 21-hour days, on things that shouldn't have been that, but they were. But you love it, and you go home and you're exhausted, and you shut your eyes for 45 minutes and then drive back out to the farmhouse you're shooting in, and you do it, And but when it's done, you're like, wow, I did that, I lived that. And you can't help but be very present-minded in it. You are living in the present because the movie-making business forces you to live in the present. You can't be too anxious about what's coming forward, and you can't regret the past. So you're not like in your regular life where you have to be still, because you can't be still. Even if you're being still as an extra, standing there you're like having to be present. You're having to be present-minded and be like, I have to be in it. When the camera's on, you're in it,
Yeah.
And everybody's like that, everybody has to hold their breath and be quiet and like give their focus to the people who need the focus, and be ready in case anything happens. Oh, we got a boom in the shot. Reset. Let's go. Time is money. It's crazy. It is a crazy business. It's a crazy industry. So much can go wrong. It is literally a miracle every time a movie even gets into production, let alone makes it through all of production, post-production, and actually makes it out to getting distributed and out into the world. I mean, it's a miracle that because it's so collaborative, because there's so many people that have to touch every single fucking aspect of that, from inception of the writer to the end when you get that physical, Blu-ray in your hand, or you're watching it on a streaming service. How many people gave so much of their lives to make that happen? That's a fucking miracle.
It truly is. I hear all what you're saying. That is it. I hear all of that, but being in it and seeing the process and going through that stuff, but the amount of mistakes that were being made, that was a revelation to me. That problem with the boom mic. And we're talking about the boom. This lady was trying to get the boom near the dad who was on the sidelines and had a line, and so she had trouble doing that. I was like, "Why are you having so much trouble doing that?" And then there was a camera woman in the stands of the basketball game, and she's trying to get the right angle. And then they said, "Did you get the shot?" And it's like, "Oh, I didn't quite get him in that thing. Can we do it again, just for the camera woman?" I was like, "How are you missing this? How are you missing these things? These seemingly simple things to me? Why are these professional camera woman, boom operator? Why are these professionals missing these seemingly simple things?" Which blew my mind on this thing.
But see, it's one of those things that when you step out, just look at it from this perspective, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but
I just want to talk to you about,
yeah, if you take a step out of it, like you don't know what they're doing. You're not a camera person. You're not a sound person. So to you, it's like, well, it just makes sense that you point the camera, it's there. But you don't know what lens they have. You don't know if they're rack focusing. Right. So that means that, like they're on the game, that girl in the stands that you're talking about, the camera operator, if that woman that is in there, sorry, not girl, woman, if she is in the stands and she's focusing on the basketball players, and then she has to rack focus, change the focus depth to get you guys in focus, you don't know that stuff. So that's why when they're saying like, "Oh, I don't have it," there's usually more complicated things going on. It's just like if somebody else was looking at like one of the extras and the director had to come over and tell you guys, hey, like you said, don't, you guys calm down. You're not trying to get the you're not going crazy here. You're trying to recruit them, so we don't want you doing the same thing. Well, if it was a trained actor might sit back and go, "Well, that's obvious. Why would you be doing that?" But you guys aren't trained actors necessarily, or why would you even think that? They're like, "Hey, crowd," and you're in the crowd, so you're gonna be, so it's like you take a step back and you're looking at somebody else's job, but there's so many different things going on. It's hard to make those judgment calls. It's easy for us to make the calls and go, "Well, come on. I mean, why can't you extend the thing, or why don't you just turn it?" But then you get in there and you do it, and it's like, "Oh shit, you're right. This is hard, or this is tricky," because there's usually more going on than what we can see, but it does. And you're right. I mean, people, I think in general, we all, even those of us that are in the industry, right? You and me, we're in the industry, but we put certain job levels or certain people on pedestals, like, "Oh, they're perfection." Like Howard Shore doesn't make mistakes, right? Oliver Stone, Steven Spielberg, these people don't make mistakes. They are God people, Never. Right? And we think that, and like these actors, you're like, "Oh, Ian McKellen, he never flubs a line." Ian McKellen never shows up late to set or stays out too late drinking. There's certain things that we just assume about people, but then you look at it and really the realistic, the reality of filmmaking is that it is a job. It is a job. Actors, yes, it is. There's celebrity and all that. That is separate from movie making. That is a byproduct of it, and that is something our society does. But it is an entertainment job. These people, the actors, the technicians, the directors, all of them, this is how they make their living. This is what they're trained to do, but they have bad days. They have off days. They get sick and they still have to go to work. They make mistakes. Just like if you're a barista at Starbucks and you spill something and somebody's like, "Come on, man, you're a professional. Why are you doing this?" Or you make a drink wrong, or you're in an office, and you screw up and don't call the client in time. And then you have an angry client. It's the same thing. It's their office. It's a different kind of office. It's a different kind of structure, but they're just real people doing real jobs, and it's hard.
Yeah. I was merely surprised by how many mistakes occurred, how many times I had to redo things for seemingly simple things. Right. All right. And I'm not trying to name drop here, but I was on Family Guy for 8 years. And if you made even, I'm sorry, Seth MacFarlane. Oh, I'm sorry.
Me and Sethy Poo, as I call him.
So yeah. But on that, when I was on that, if you made a mistake, even like a mistake that's interpretable, like when you're writing notes out on the score, you could write enharmonics could be spelled in different ways. It could be a sharp or a flat. Like A sharp is the same as B flat. It's the same note though. But if you made that interpretable mistake on there, that was still a mistake. and you were crucified for those things. When I was on Family Guy, any kind of little mistake like that, you were just like, who did that? Who was it? Was it the composer who I work for, Ron Jones? Rarely he would make a mistake. I'd say maybe once a year he would make a mistake.
Right.
He would never make a mistake. So it was rare that it was him. Next person would be an orchestrator, was what I did, was making his thing work for an orchestra. And did I put it in the correct score order? Was everything written out? And you got to pay attention to the things like that. On harmonics, does it look right? Is it playable for a musician to read it and play it? And then it goes to a copyist. A copyist takes my score and writes out all the parts for the flutes, the clarinets. He writes all those parts out. And then it goes to the musician performing it while at the recording session. So who made the mistake? Was it the composer, the orchestrator, the copyist, or the musician? And bam, within a second or two, you know who immediately made a mistake. And so I'm on this film set of a big production movie, and I'm seeing all this stuff go by. I'm like, how, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that these things get made. It was such a revelation to me. So you're telling me all these things, and I'm listening to it, and I'm more aware of the difficulties of these things, which I was not beforehand, because all I did was post-production stuff with TV shows and movies and things like that. So it was quite an experience, a revelation. I don't want to do it again. I got one more movie to talk about, but another
really quickly,
very similar.
Really quickly, I really want to hear that. I want to hear how different they were. But when you're talking about the mistakes and things like that, and I know that part of that also is who's running who's the department head, how are they running the department, what kind of manager they are, what kind of how do they facilitate their team and support their team. And sometimes you have even directors, from the top down, that are more like generals telling you exactly what to do and how to do it, and they're very strict and rigid. And then you have people that are more laid back. And I've heard a lot of stories. I've been following a lot more as I've been getting more into writing and production and directing and stuff, and getting more interested in writers' rooms of television, things like that. I've been doing some more research and following more writers, and you just hear how some of these shows that I'm loving right now on television, just to name it two, I'm talking specifically about like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Rob McElhenney created that show, and then moved over, and now he also has Mythic Quest, which is a killer show on Apple TV. Yeah, and then also Ted Lasso on Apple TV. Well, their writers' rooms, you hear their writers talk, and they love writing those. And on Sunny, the three guys write a lot of the stuff, but they also have other people helping write. But on Mythic Quest, they have a writer's room, and a lot of the writers are actors on the show as well and play the main characters, and then they have other writers. And it's so collaborative and uplifting, and all the ideas are, yes, the guts filtered through Rob and everything, or the directors and everything, but you hear them talk, and there's so much love, and so much people are encouraged to take risks, to be themselves, to make mistakes. And when you have a set like that, you tend to make less mistakes because you're not worried about screwing something up. When you have that kind of dictatorship mindset, it makes the art suffer. None of us can be our best selves if you're doing that. And so when you see those shows and you see them succeeding, and you see it's like you want to be a part of them because they're so much fun to watch. Like Ted Lasso is that way too. And they have that process of real collaboration and admiration for each other. And you hear the writers talk about in interviews about how they've been on other shows that had less than acceptable writers' rooms, where the writers actually hated the show and it was just a job. And then you have these shows where they love going to work every day and love creating. And that's a huge difference. And that comes down from a showrunner, from an executive producer. It can come down from the director if they're an auteur and they're like handling everything. I mean, it really does come from those like department heads down on how those things are managed. And so sometimes if they're making a lot more mistakes, it could be legitimate technical issues, or it could be that person's making more mistakes. Most likely it's because they're incompetent, but because they're not being supported, just like in any job. They're not given the tools. They're not being not coddled, but they're not being protected and given the license to be themselves enough. And I think in the arts you have to do that even more than you do in a business setting.
Of course, I hear you on that.
I just wanted to bring that out too, that could be a reason. But
well, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear your side and your opinion on these things. It's just as is like from a technical side of things, things that seem simple to me were not being executed nearly as well as I thought they could have been. As far as dealing with 300 extras, how things would work, how many times we had to redo a shot because of some seemingly simple problem. All right. So that one was quite an experience. I already got my paycheck for that one. Not going back.
Yeah. Thank you, Disney.
Yes. Thank you, Disney. I will cash your check. But I did sign up for one more project as an extra. I'll say it's an 80s movie, which is exciting to me right there because I grew up in the 80s and everything. And one aspect of it to it, we were talking about earlier, the wardrobe aspect of it to it. So it's set in New York City, and so they're trying to dress me like a New York City theater, like you're going to the theater, like you're dressed up for that. And this woman is giving me clothes and everything, and it's, yes, it's 80s clothes, but the shirt she gave me was so ugly. I was like, "Are you sure you want me to wear this thing?" It was almost like a Hawaiian shirt. It was so ugly. And I was like, is this like a hip 80s thing, And there was another one that was like a dark green teal silk shirt. I was like, can I wear that one? She's like, no, you're wearing this one. And it was so ugly and everything. So I was very disappointed in the shirt, which leads to what happened later on at the set because of this stupid shirt. So same thing, you go to a parking garage and you get shuttled to the set. And same issue. Level of organization is crazy. Okay, yeah, you're dealing with a lot of extras, maybe about 150 extras this time. And I realized, trying to wrangle in 150 people, whoever it is tough. Wardrobe, again, very disorganized. Oh, I don't know, what is this? Is this yours? Did you get this at the fitting? Is this? And I was like, yes, I recognize that. Yes, that's mine. No, that's not mine. You're mixed up. That's wrong. Blah, blah, blah. And so that part was, again, chaotic. And then, so I'm wearing this ugly shirt and these pants and everything, and a nice jacket actually, so it covered up a lot of the shirt and everything. So again, we're sitting in the holding area, and then this guy who's kind of like in charge, sort of, and he's like, I need 12 people. We're doing an intermission during a theater production. All you're doing is milling around outside in a theater production. So they said, okay, and this is the 80s, so you could smoke at intermission. And they said, we need 2 girls to smoke. And so they had these 2 girls smoking. And the girls on this one, holy crap. The hairdos on this thing. It was like Cameron Diaz in Something About Mary, where it's like straight up and everything.
Yeah.
The big bangs, straight up, big poofy curly hair.
Hey, we lived through those times. We lived through those
things. But the thing was, it didn't look stupid. It looked like that. I was like, that's how women and girls looked, and I mean, like 18 and older, or maybe 20 and older, or whatever. That's how they dress.
Up into college.
Yeah. I was like, those were the hairdos and everything. But you see all these women coming in with those big poofy hairdos and everything. And most of the clothes didn't look bad. It wasn't like cheesy. I think I had the worst shirt out of everyone. So most of the clothes look actually pretty cool and everything. And so anyway, this guy comes on and he goes, okay, I'm picking 12 people. And he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. I was number 6. I was like, okay, we're going on a scene. We're going to be a thing. And so we get up there and this guy says, okay, you stand here. This is an intermission of a theater production. All you got to do is just stand there or walk around. 2 girls smoking at the bar, whatever. And he keeps walking up and down and he keeps skipping me. Okay. He looks at me and he goes, okay, somebody else. He keeps skipping over me. And I really think it was his shirt. I really do. It was.
You were very self-conscious about that.
I was very self-conscious. I was like, man, I should have got that. I should have fought for that green shirt. It was so much better thing because it just looked terrible. And then another thing was with the wardrobe are. The wardrobe are constantly walking around the holding area, like checking, make sure the wardrobe looks good. And so like, oh, you're not supposed to wear that jacket. And I swear, 4 different people told me to either put the jacket on or take the jacket off. And then I get over to the thing. I was like, where's your jacket? I was like, we're inside. Should I be wearing this heavy jacket because it's supposed to be wintertime in New York? And I was like, no, you shouldn't be wearing the jacket. Another person comes by. You should be wearing that jacket. Why aren't you wearing your jacket? I was like, that guy just told me to take it off. It was just me alone. Just me alone.
Yeah.
It was so chaotic. And I was
You
like,
know what?
And
Those
the last
guys,
lady,
all four of them, they were in the
Yeah.
back, and they were like, "Hey, listen, you see that guy over there? You see that guy, that nerdy looking guy over there with that shirt? Yeah, we made him wear that shirt, and let's fuck with him a little
that's
bit."
what I'm wrestling with.
It was all for you.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And the last lady came by. You know, they're all very calm and everything. And she goes, "Why aren't you wearing the shirt?" I was like, I'm not trying to be rude. I was like, 3 other people told me something different already. I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do.
Just go shirtless. Just go
shirtless.
shirtless.
And I was ready to rip the shirt off like Incredible Hulk and just go with the jacket and bare chest and everything. So I was so frustrated. I was like, but like just me, some dumbass extra. All this problems.
The director would definitely remember you if you did.
Yeah.
That. When he sees you a week later, hey, it's the no shirt guy.
It's no shirt guy, Incredible Hulk.
Let's
dude.
go get a drink. Let's go get a drink.
Glad to have you back. Oh, you do music? Yeah, let's chat. You know, so whatever.
Oh, take your shirt off. I don't want you with the shirt on.
Forget the music. I just want you shirtless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're picking all these other people and good-looking people, really good-looking people, men and women. I was like, of course, please, yes, they're so much better than me. And I got this ugly ass shirt on, so I was like, fine, please pick them. And then they went in there and shot the scene. We're waiting for them to go back. And everybody on the set, the whole staff, everybody loves to say rolling. Everybody's got earpieces. So when the director says rolling, you hear, we're in a theater in downtown Los Angeles, and the director says rolling. The whole staff, everyone says rolling right after the director says it, you know. So that was a little bit annoying or anything. Anyway, I didn't get on camera.
They have to do that though.
I realize that.
Yeah,
like
typically they're supposed to do that so that if anybody walks in, they know that. Yeah,
yeah, and there's all people walking around. Again, it's a gigantic film set. It's a 80s movie, but it's big budget, another big budget project, and so there's people everywhere, and so I understand that, but rolling. Like, oh, gosh. So anyway, we got through that scene, and then later on they had us. There was supposed to be an outside scene of people walking by the camera outside a store, and you're supposed to walk by it dressed in heavy, 80s clothes. It's supposed to be wintertime New York City. And they took over the sidewalk in Los Angeles, but they're supposed to let pedestrians be able to walk by. They're not allowed to block pedestrians and everything. So you got pedestrians walking by all over the place. They got a really couple good looking 80s taxi cabs. It was amazing looking and everything. They're driving by every once in a while. And then you got people walking on the other side of the street, and they got their cameras up or their phones up, and they're trying to film all this stuff, take pictures and everything. And so I got in the front of the line of pedestrians walking in front of the camera. I was like, man, I'm going to get on camera. Forget this ugly shirt. I'm getting on camera.
You take it off, throw it in the trash.
Yeah. Something. I'm getting on camera. And so I get up pretty close to the front, and I did walk by the camera 2 times on 2 takes. I walked by the camera, but then they changed the whole thing, and then these 2 people came in and they stepped in front of me, and they were walking, when I was supposed to be. So maybe I got in the movie, maybe I didn't, but I don't care. I was just happy to get out of there and paycheck.
You'll be on the poster. It'll just be you on the poster, shirtless with the jacket.
Yeah,
shirtless in New York.
Yeah, it was so chaotic. I was like, how do you do that every day? Like, and people are telling you're waiting in the holding area for forever to get on the camera and everything for hours. Mm-hmm. And they had 150 people. I swear they didn't even use half of them. I was like, not even half of them, not even a quarter of them got on camera. I was like, what do you need all these people for? You're paying all these people all day long. And all these people had to be fitted with clothes. I was like, you don't even use a quarter of them. It was crazy. So, quite an experience. But you've already said what I thought you might say. Is like, it's a miracle these things get made. There's a lot of technical issues. I do not know how to operate a camera. Do not know how to operate these things. Dealing with other people, hierarchy of director, assistant director, whatever it is, producer. So it was again a something I experienced and went through, but learned a lot from it, about the filmmaking industry. And it's too, these things are being filmed right now, so they'll come out in, I guess, another year or so. But it's these things are being done right now. So I was just kind of happy to be a part of it. Particularly The White Men Can't Jump, because I love the first one. But I don't think it's going to be anything like the first one. So.
It's
based
a
on
true
based on
remake
what I
too.
saw.
It's not like it's not a sequel. It's an actual remake.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it was quite an experience with those.
You're
those
so
things.
extra, Brian.
I am, man. I am a complete extra on these things. I
Yeah.
just truly superfluous. Yeah.
Hey, you're like I said, you're going to be on the poster. It's going to be you walking into
Yeah.
that theater. Yeah. That's I mean, it's cool experiences, and it's something else in the film industry that you've not done before. So that's exciting.
Well,
Yeah.
and you said this earlier, and I think I said this earlier too. I was like, well, maybe I'll get to meet the director. Maybe I'll meet somebody on this thing. But you're not even close to him at all. All you are
it's
around
such a
other
machine.
extras.
Yeah.
And the like the guy who's like in charge of the extras. That's
Yeah.
it. He's like, you don't get close to the higher ups on these
No.
things
I mean,
as an extra.
sometimes if you're a featured extra, meaning you're like specific, like even though you don't have lines, you're like in a group or something like that, or you have maybe a couple of lines here and there, you're like a featured day player, which is kind of like a glorified, I mean, it's more than an extra. You get paid on a different scale and everything, but some of those times you might get to meet some of the lead actors, or you might meet higher up producers or directors. Just depends on that. I know one movie, this is back when I was in, I think it was 2008-ish, 2009-ish. I think I was out of college or right around the time I was leaving college, so I didn't graduate. And a bunch of us actors from Springfield drove down to Memphis, Tennessee to audition for an Oliver Stone movie. They were going to make a Bruce Willis movie about the Pinksville massacre. I think it was called Pinksville, and it was a Pinksville massacre in Vietnam. And I don't know much about that, so I might be saying that wrong, but I think it was Pinksville. I think that's what they called it. And we actually dressed in like fatigues and like kind of like Vietnam era clothing. We went to the some people had some extra things that we pieced together, or we went out to the army surplus that was still open in that area back then. We all got together. We drove down to Memphis, Tennessee for the day, and it's kind of far. Actually I think it's like 6.5 hours or something. It wasn't like crazy far, but and we all auditioned, and I think all of us made it past the first cut. And then a couple of people had line readings that they were asked to do. One of our I think there were 6 of us. We all crammed into a car, and it was great. We were out there all day, and they were like, you, come on, thank you. And let lots of people go. There were tons of people there. It was a mass call, right? And we would have been featured extras in Bruce Willis's Platoon, and would have gone to like Cambodia, I think, for 3 months to shoot. And I was super excited about it. I was like, wow, I think we made it past this cut. There's a good chance. They were doing casting in Memphis, and they were doing casting in New York, and they were going to pick these people based on that. And I thought we all looked kind of rough. We were looking like people that had been in Vietnam for a while, like not like brand new right off the helicopter kind of, new recruits, but like people that had been seasoned, that had been out there for a while in the bush. And basically we just didn't take care of ourselves and looked sloppy. And so we went out there, we did the thing, we went out, we ate, we everything. We all felt really good about ourselves, patting ourselves on the back for taking it so seriously and going out for that audition, on the crazy chance we'd get it. And literally on the way home, we're driving back, and on the radio, they're talking about the Writers Guild strike. And which had just happened, and I can't remember if it was the SAG strike or the Writers Guild strike. It was either one of the SAG strikes or one of the Writers Guild strikes. I think this one was the Writers Guild strike, if I remember right. We could talk to Al Marsh when he comes on the show. He was one of the guys that went with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Al was one of the guys that went with me, and Al, God, he's working like crazy now. I'm so proud of him. He's doing great things. He was just on The Offer. And he had a big role on The Offer. He's in like 2 episodes, definitely in 1 episode, maybe in 2 episodes of The Offer, in a featured role. He's got speaking lines and everything. He's great in it.
We gotta have him on now. Absolutely, gotta have him on now.
But and he's constantly auditioning and working and just killing it in LA now. But anyway, he back then, we all went out there, and so we're driving back, and on the radio they're talking about the strike, and they're listing all these movies that just came in that are being canceled, and they listed Oliver Stone's Pinksville film.
Oh,
And we're
man.
driving home. Like we were only we were like 3 or 4 hours on the road, and we hear that, and all of us are just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Because we had just auditioned for this thing that day. We didn't even know, but it was just like done. And then that movie got put on the back burner. Schedules changed, and he went on when the Writers Guild or the SAG or whoever was striking, when it was over, he went on to make W instead. He had moved on to a different project, and that movie got made. So the movie never got made. And all of us, it was a cool experience. It was a neat experience going through that. But that's my only other, and I had forgot about that, but that's my only other extra, like trying to get an extra role on something, just going out for an extra part. But it was a cool experience because it was fun to go out there with those guys. Some good people from the past that we all used to do a lot of indie films together, and just like four or five actors driving in a car, heading out there, Oh, Rodney Wiseman was in that group too, and Ryan Shields. Yeah. It was a good time. Good time.
Yeah. Wow.
But I know, it was such a bummer. You get back home and you're like, well, we did it at least. It was a cool experience. And I could say, Memphis was really neat. Great food. We were on, I think Beale Street is what they call it. Yeah, Beale Street, the famous street there. Yeah, that B.B. King's place is on Beale Street and stuff. Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool town. I definitely go back.
But to hear about it on the ride back, it's
that's
like,
what's so weird. It's not like
we didn't even get back, and we're already canceled. What the hell?
It's like a cartoon. It really is. It's like a cartoon or a TV show, because you wouldn't think it would happen that fast, but it did. It was on the way home, literally driving home, that we heard that the movie that we had just auditioned for, made it past the first cut, thought we might have a chance of getting in, was canceled. That is insane to me. Like, it wasn't a couple of days later. It wasn't something we read in the paper. It was on the radio when we were coming. We just happened to be listening to the radio and just happened to hear that.
Jeez. Oh, wow. So I do want to ask you about this, and I was hoping you had some stories, and you did have some stories about being an extra. So I'm learning more about this stuff. But being on those two sets was, again, quite an experience. And I learned a lot. I did learn a lot, and I learned that I don't want to go back.
I've done multiple jobs on different film sets, being an actor, being in front of the camera, and being behind the camera in various capacities. And, I've not done every job by far, but I've been around the people who do them, very professional people who this is their livelihood. And then I've been around people who are just learning, students and amateur filmmakers too, who are very skilled. And I think every single job, from the people who are, the craft service people who provide the food and keep up with that stuff, all the way up and up and up into the producer roles and things like that, no matter what the responsibility is, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of focus. It's a lot of dedication. Sometimes it's incredibly long hours for not a lot of pay. And, we hear stories about these actors and directors and producers who are making millions of dollars and things like that. That's really not the case most of the time. Now, acting pays better than a lot of the crew roles get paid, which is silly, but it is. It does. But acting's hard. Like, really acting in a movie, it's a lot of work. It's not just memorizing lines and looking pretty. It's there's a lot of work that goes into it to be good and be very successful in it. And the focus that you have to have as an actor on camera, I think, is even harder than in the theater, because in the theater, you're immersed in the world that you're in, right? You're in a play for 90 minutes, for 2 hours, whatever, you're in it. You are there in the world, and the only time that you might break character is when you leave the stage. But if you're on the stage the whole time under those lights, it's very easy to get lost in it. You can't see the audience. You can't see a camera. You're in it. You hear the sounds. You're in the world. You're on a set. You're living and breathing the moment. You've rehearsed it a bunch of times, so you're not thinking about your lines. You're just living and breathing with that other actor. When you get into a movie situation, it's very, very different. You have to look a certain way. They're constantly setting up, taking stuff down, moving lights, adjusting and tweaking microphones, sometimes based on, and I know we've talked about this, but sometimes, based on who you're talking to and where the camera angle is, you have to look off of their eye line, or you're acting to a ping pong ball that's supposed to be an animated dinosaur that's your best buddy in the movie, or they change the dialogue 30 minutes before they're about to shoot, and it's an entire paragraph that you have to just memorize, or if you can't, you're taping it to your leg like Sean Bean did as Boromir in Lord of the Rings. They changed his whole "one simply does not walk into Mordor." They changed the dialogue right before he was going to shoot. He didn't have time to memorize it. So he had to tape that. That's why he keeps looking down in that scene. And, there's other people like Marlon Brando who are just freaking nuts and don't believe in memorizing lines because they want to be in it, which that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but whatever. And so Marlon Brando would have people holding cue cards.
Holding cue cards in front of him. Yeah, because he wouldn't memorize lines. Yeah, I knew that.
But see, there's all sorts of weird things like that, and we talked a little bit about that in the Brando episode, I think, when we were talking about him. But acting for camera is just, the focus that you have to be in it is so crazy, because that camera is going to blow your face up to the size of a movie screen, an IMAX screen, a large screen TV in HD. And if you're not in it, if you're not believing the truth of the moment of what you're in, that camera's going to pick it up and it's going to read as false. And so I think it was Spencer Tracy that said, plant your feet and tell the truth. And that's all you need to be an actor. I think that was Spencer Tracy that said that. I know it's been rehashed and a lot of actors believe in that, and I believe in that. You have to tell the truth. You have to be an honest, truthful performer. And to do that with all that other shit going on with the lights, you're looking at a lens and you've got all these people watching you, and sometimes they're doing stuff. And that whole thing with Christian Bale freaking out on the one person on the Terminator movie. And it's like everybody's railing Christian Bale. And I'm kind of for Christian Bale in this situation, because I don't approve of anybody yelling at anybody. I don't. But from what I understand, that was like the last straw. He had said this to this person many times, please don't do this, please don't do this. And he's doing this emotional scene where he's acting like in a green screen environment to something that's not there, and he's having to be emotional, and it's capturing him, and it's his ass on the line because he's the one that's in the movie, and somebody's adjusting a light and tweaking it, and it takes him out of the moment. And for him to do his job, which is not easy, everybody thinks acting is easy. It is not, but any job is hard. But to do that while he's trying to do his job was, that was really not respectful, I think, of what he was trying to do. And should he have yelled? No, he shouldn't have yelled. But I can understand the frustration from where he was, and everybody's just like, oh, he's a dick. But at what point do he said, I've said this to you before. He said, we got the end of the argument, and then we're sitting there making judgments on it. So it's, whatever. Basically what I'm saying is that, everybody's job is really difficult. Acting, people look at these jobs like you were looking at the sound, and it's like, well, this seems obvious. Just like people that watch acting, good actors make it look effortless. It's like, oh, well, that's easy. I can do that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can be an actor. There's people that say that anybody can act. It's that I don't believe that, because it takes a lot of work. And I'm not trying to be like arrogant or facetious or I don't know any other term. People can do it if they put the work into it, I think, but it takes a certain amount of imagination and a lot of focus and a lot of dedication to do it well.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like anything. I mean, it's like people are like, oh, anybody can learn an instrument. Well, that's not necessarily true, because there's a certain sense, there's a technicality to doing it, and then there's an artistry to doing it. And the artistry is where some people don't have it, right? Anybody can learn the technical aspects of how to do something. If they work at it enough, they'll get it. But there's something that separates the truly great artists from the technical aspect of it. And even those technicians on a movie set, even the people, definitely the people behind the camera, but like the people that are doing the sound and the people that are, manipulating the lighting and the people who are, handling set dressing and all that stuff. It's like there's a skill level, and there's an artistry level, and there's an education level, and all of those have to be kind of combined to be truly great and to make a career out of. And there's so many wonderful opportunities in the film world to do all sorts of different things on camera or off camera. And That's what's so cool about it, I think. So if you find yourself wanting to get involved with it, but you're not like necessarily the best at one thing, there might be something else that you could be just absolutely amazing at and still get to live in that world and have those little micro universes that you can live in for a while.
Well, I will stick to post-production work myself. I love writing music for films. I love doing that side of it, not being on camera, not having to stand there and do things and fight for my position with another extra on the camera. But
two extras enter, one man leaves.
Exactly. Exactly. He was really hitting me too. He's like really bumping in me because he wanted to get on camera. But I learned a lot. I did learn a lot. So I will say that I learned a lot, and just now I got a better perspective of just on set. This is what happens on set.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
This is just what happens. So people are working
before it
hard
even gets to you for you to score. Now you know all that shit that goes into it.
Yeah, crazy. and these were just two tiny little scenes. Forget about a hour and a half, 2 hour movie. I mean, these are two tiny scenes that I was in.
That scene might be 3 minutes in the movie, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
All that work for that much film. Yeah, and think about all the hours it's going to take those editors to put that scene together. Take all that footage, all that sound, compress it, mix it, add in extra sound effects, add the color correction, all that stuff for that one little scene.
So, yeah. So I much higher appreciation for all those jobs and all those people, all the extras and everything. Again, what you're saying, every aspect of filmmaking, it is a miracle. Miracle and anything gets done. Even that one shot gets done.
I feel it's a miracle that I get to talk to you every few weeks.
Come on,
these episodes. So it was a miracle listening to you talk about this, and it was good to be back. And it's good to get back to these episodes and to chat with you. Always a good time, my friend. And look forward to our next one.
Oh man, so glad to have you back, and we'll get another episode going soon.
All right. And hey, all of you guys listening out there, if you'd like to join the conversation, to, get it, maybe have some questions answered or some topics discussed, hit us up on our social media. You'll be able to see it at the end of the reel here. And we'll have it in the show notes as well. Hit us up on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere you can find us. And we have our email address available for you as well. So hit us up, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Any experiences that you've had within the industry or outside of the industry, with life in general, with your art, trying to balance your life and your passions. That's what it's all about. So join us, and we hope you join us next time for our next episode. Thanks, Bryan.
All right. Talk to you later.